And apparently I am live. Trying to get this situated here. Live from the bedroom where the magic happens. But I'm just gonna wait for about 3 minutes for people to join in. I'm just trying different configurations, different setups. Yesterday I was in my living room. Today I'm in my bedroom. Hopefully this thing waving along the side where the windows are isn't too distracting. And I'll do my best to stay concentrated on wherever the down here, yeah, wherever the camera is. Welcome for the first person to join. Thank you for joining us in the dirty work. Oh, we're at 2. Fantastic. We're just gonna wait for the 3 minute mark. Let's just get comfortable. Allow a few people to hop in. Hey, you're the next billionaire per Earn Your Leisure. Um, Probably not the next billionaire, but I'm sure there's gonna be a few billionaires before I hit it. Um, I hope I hit it. I know that I'll definitely hit the 9 figure mark before my life is over. Kalia Roan, welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, I think billionaires are being born. Not, I can't say being born every day, but there's people who are moving into that column with more regularity. I think it's kind of the new millionaire. I guess the millionaire of our generation. I haven't done any analysis to kind of compare like a millionaire from the Rockefeller era to like what would that equate to today. But I think for whatever reason, $1 million has always been a big deal in the United States. But right now, I think it's closer to like it's like the equivalent of maybe $200,000 in 1990, $1 million. So I don't really see being a millionaire as being a big deal. I see definitely being a billionaire as being a big deal. That's being rich and wealthy. I want to open a home care agency, but I'm waiting. What is the what is the but? Fill me in. But yeah, I think the guys at Earn Your Leisure. I hope they're correct. Yeah, my cousin told me the other day, same thing, and I was like, we'll see what happens. I think I can build a $1 billion business. I think healthcare is large enough for me to do so. I think technology is robust enough for me to do so. So it's just a matter of how I decide to play it out, how long I want to stay on this journey. It's more important for me to to be engaged and entertained with what I'm doing as work than the final dollar figure. But I plan on expanding my net worth well beyond what it is now, and it's really just to be able to have disposable income to the point that the money doesn't even matter anymore. I do well now. I would be considered wealthy by many people's standards, but I live pretty simply, and I know that I wouldn't be able to live to the extreme version of my life that I would like to, and I think it's going to require a little more money than what I have now. So for that reason, I still work and I still chase dollars. I'm doing pretty well, crypto. How about yourself? What's a nice topic? Perfect. We're into the 3 minute mark. I've been rambling. So every day in the dirty work, this is my daily vlog where I discuss everything that's going on in an entrepreneur's life and in my life, particularly between success and failure, to try to give people who are paying attention a little insight into how a entrepreneur thinks and what steps you should take to achieve your success or failure. I think in achieving failure, you learn a lot. I don't want people, trying to fail, but when you achieve success and failure, there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and there's a lot to be learned in the journey. Today's tip of the day is really to live inspired and draw inspiration from people in history or current characters. It could be fictional characters or real characters. Because once you're able to study those people or study those characters, you'll be able to even replicate their behaviors and their logic set, especially if those things resonate with you. By having an example of someone you want to be like, by admiring someone who has achieved what you want to achieve, you ultimately have at least a roadmap for the things that you need to do. You could research what their work ethic was like. You can research their logic set. You can see what steps they took to achieve their level of success, and it gives you a little bit of a roadmap rather than going at it blindly. So, what I want to talk about today, as far as myself is concerned, are the characters and the visionaries of our lifetime or of our world that have inspired me. For those of you who are kind of Renaissance geeks or geometry geeks, you'll see that the logo for ENTP Life is the golden spiral, which some people would say is the Da Vinci spiral. Some people dispute that it is the Da Vinci spiral, but it's a Fibonacci sequence that actually replicates frequently in the natural world, which is interesting. And I've always been into Renaissance art and actually Baroque period art because I think in the Renaissance period there was a huge focus on being a jack of all trades, and I hate that expression, jack of all trades or a master of none, because I consider myself a jack of all trades, and I love it. And I always argue with people who say that, oh, you're in too many different things. I would say, one of the strongest hands in poker is four of a kind, aside from a straight flush. So having a four jacks, to me, is a pretty good hand. Is something that I would love to have if I was playing high stakes poker and I was all in. I would rather have four of a kind than trying to pursue the perfect hand that just doesn't happen, like a royal flush or a high straight flush. Um, so the Renaissance artists were kind of these jack of all trades. They were a fusion of they were a fusion of artist and scientist, and the two kind of lived in the same. And Leonardo da Vinci obviously is one of those celebrated figures that always resonated with me from childhood. Da Vinci was an artist, but I don't think he was an artist first. A lot of people know him for the Mona Lisa and his paintings, but he also was an avid inventor, a studier of human anatomy, a scientist, just an all-around consumer of the natural world, information and replication of. And I always looked at Da Vinci as kind of like a model human being. I've always been interested in science, and I'd always been interested in like the ability to create. And art, whatever form of art it is truly magical, right? Because you're able to create a sculpture out of a piece of stone. You're able to take dollops of paint and make it a visual photograph or something that people can actually see and identify. Whether you're writing or you're a cinematographer taking motion picture and telling a story with that. That to me, that's some of the most fascinating stuff ever. And at the same time, I'm also very fascinated by science, the ability to produce vaccines, antibiotics, organ transplants, these things that are just genetic engineering. All these things are really fascinating to me and had always been from childhood. So Da Vinci always kind of enthralled me in that because he had his hands in so many different things, and me being a kid that was always into everything, it was like, well, you see, here's a version of success, even though the person was scatterbrained, right? Da Vinci used to consistently complain about being a master procrastinator, and I think he procrastinated on the things that needed to get done because he was contracted to complete the work versus the things that were currently inspiring him. And I'm more or less the same way. The shiny thing always gets my attention. Even though that shiny thing may not produce, I'm still motivated by new, motivated by different, motivated by change. So that's one of the people that I always look to and study. And here we are 600, 700 years removed from Da Vinci. but still influenced and still fascinated by the work that he did, especially the time period that he did it. Something special was happening at that time, especially with him in his mind. So it's something that has always stuck with me. Another character, and I tell people this and they kind of laugh, that inspired me was Thomas Crown from the Thomas Crown Affair. The Thomas Crown Affair is a movie that came out in the 90s. But when I saw that movie, I was like, I need to be like Thomas Crown. For those of you who don't know, the Thomas Crown Affair is about a multimillionaire, if not billionaire, who got bored of the business world and was looking for more kicks in life. And he decided to rob the Metropolitan Museum of some of the finest art. Once again, that kind of feeds back to me uh, being I guess, a lover of art history. And he ended up stealing this painting and at the same time finessing the investigator that was that was investigating him as the lead for for the theft, for the heist. And it was like this romantic tale of the billionaire who's also kind of rogue, but who's also, sincerely a romantic. And there were so many things that happened in Thomas Crown Affair that I identified with, and I was like, man, when I grow up, I want to be like Thomas Crown. And I would say that those two characters are probably like the most forward in my mind when I'm thinking about who do I want to be, what do I want to emulate, and how do I make sure I get myself to Da Vinci level or to Thomas Crown level. It's corny, but that's who I am. And that's what I want to bring up in today's live is that if you're able to resonate deeply with a character, whether it's Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Ben Carson, Donald Trump, Mike Tyson, whoever, even Adolf Hitler to a certain extent. I know people, this is always something, a hot spot for people. But Adolf Hitler, as sinister as he was, achieved something substantial in his short lifetime. He inspired a nation of people to go balls to the wall for an idea, even though the idea was horrible, but for an idea with just pure charisma and selling of this concept. And to me, that always stood out as something intriguing, because it's very difficult to get people to stand behind your ideas. Imagine getting people to get to that point. How did you influence people to get to I guess the lowest point of humanity and take on the world with like this excitement that is really crazy. I always looked at Hitler as as a polarizing figure, but something to watch and understand how to deal with human behavior and how to really tap into feelings, because I think that's what he did very well. But I'm not encouraging anybody to go out there and channel Hitler, please. But I would say when you look at people who've moved history's needle a bit, I think there's something to be taken from that. And whoever that is for you, you should be drawing from that to somewhat model your life to a certain degree. So that's my bit for the dirty work. As far as what I did today, big piece of my day was going to the property that I'm working on. The video that I did earlier was on the property that I closed on, and we started construction tomorrow actually. So I went over there to kind of capture some pre-construction videos, and then I also actually have my SketchUp right here, but I also went out to measure and kind of start planning the kitchens and bathrooms in that space, so that I'm able to push that forward to an architect that I work with on Fiverr, so that they could do a full floor plan and do plans of my kitchens, so that we could submit that in for permitting. Rather than, I'm probably gonna pay like $50 for this on Fiverr, rather than paying an architect $2,000 to do similar. Um, it just never made sense to me. So I'd rather spend a few hours in my afternoon, measure it out, save a few bucks, than go back and forth, have to do essentially the same thing with an architect and pay him or her $2,000. Aside from that, I got to clear through a lot of emails early morning. Worked out in the morning. After this call, I'm gonna go work out again because I got my 30-day challenge, and that's pretty much it. And usually on Sundays, I plan for the week and try to make sure that my time is distributed properly throughout the week so that I know Tuesdays and Thursdays are my meeting days, and then I look at Mondays as like my catch up day and like meeting day for like setting the tone with my department heads, and then obviously as the days progress, a lot of things come up, but that's kind of how I organize myself. But at this point, I've been going on so the 16-minute mark, and I would like to open up for some questions. If possible, feel free to interrupt and share your piece. Merciana's House of Beauty. I love the Renaissance period. Cool. What about the Renaissance period? If you're still here, do you love in particular? Um, the Renaissance period I like because they were just starting to get proportions correct. A lot of the proportions were still pretty bad, but they started to get proportions correct. They started to get, I forgot what the term is, Jesus. It was oh, how how objects scale or spatial something. I'll get it at some point. Um, but they started to really move visual arts to a point where proportions were correct, scale was correct. They started to get better with color. The Baroque period I really like. If you watch Game of Thrones, for those of you who like watch Game of Thrones and like Game of Thrones, a lot of the cinematography is very Baroque esque. A lot of detail in both architecture and fabric. Things were very ornate in the Baroque period, but also contrasting with light. They started to get really interesting with light. Like you'll see rooms that were lit by candlelight, and how that candlelight was creating light and dark across someone's face. So the candle might be lit somewhere in the foreground, and someone's face is lit, but not the back side of their face. So this side was really bright, this side was dark. It, Baroque period art for me was kind of really cool because it got closer and closer to the hand replicating what the eye can see before photography and digital stuff. But it was like the human being getting closer to reproducing perfection, what we saw, right? You go from cave drawings to modern times, or to that period. It was progressive as what sort of imagery we can pen to the wall or to whatever medium we're using. But let me see, a question popped up. Kindly share your investment experience Italy in €1 home scheme. Okay, social reactions. I'll touch on that. So my investment experience in Italy's €1 homes. When I went to Italy, I went for €1 homes. I didn't think they were going to be as bad as they were. The inventory that remains for €1 is pretty beat up. They're either going to have structural issues, roofing issues, facade issues. They're gonna need extensive work. They're really far gone. Maybe some of the early inventory wasn't as bad, and some owners just kind of let their properties go because they didn't want them. But the inventory that's still behind now is pretty gross, and I don't think it's worth it to. For me, I don't think it's worth it to pick up a Euro property, have to redo the electrical, have to redo the plumbing. Nothing. The roof is not functional. Nothing is functional in the house. It's a complete gut and redo, and even structural redo. I think for the price, you could get a lot better if you deal with the premium listings, which is what I bought. So I bought one property for 12,000 euros, one property for 5,000 euros. We start construction on that, I believe, October 10th, um, which is next Monday or something along those lines. Sorry for that. Text message. What a shame, man. I need to be able to block that from happening. Um, Sorry about that. Kindly share your investment. Okay, so back to that. So I bought one for five and one for 12,000 euros. And honestly, that 5,000 euro is my favorite property out of the two, just because I just like that it's a corner unit, so I have two exposures of light, like both sides, like that. And it's small, and I tend to like smaller spaces. They're less to manage, easier to renovate. I just think it was the better buy. The 12,000 euro property is more for me to entertain guests and my family. So it's a three-story, about 1,000 to 1,200 square feet, which is like 100 square meters to 120 square meters, something like that. I can probably sleep 5 to 6 people there, and I think that would be more suitable for my family. So that's why I got both of them. I thought they would be both a good look. Those videos are posted on my channel, so if you watch my series on Italy, you can check that out. But the actual experience of buying is relatively smooth. You work with the agent, you identify the properties that you want, you do a tour, you like something, you put in your offer, just like all other pieces of real estate, you put in your offer. Offer is accepted, you sign a contract. At contract time, you put down 10%. You pay your broker's fees because since it's such a small deal, you're paying the broker's fees yourself. And then it goes to notary, which is like we have title and attorneys in the United States. Notary is that version in Italy. Notary reviews the deed and all the history behind the property, like your title agency would. They determine what's out of whack, what needs to be fixed. They charge you a fee. That fee is about $2,000 to $3,000. You close your deal. You send the balance to the notary dude. He disperses the funds. They finalize your deed. You are now the rightful owner of a property in Italy. This does not buy you residency. So I got that question so many times. Just because you buy a house for €1 doesn't make you a resident. It's cool that you can buy the real estate. Like in Thailand, you can't as a foreigner, but in Italy you can. So I hope that answers your question. I think it's a relatively easy process. Expect to spend $30,000 or so when you're all said and done between your purchase, your renovations, your furnishing, that sort of thing. I think on my smaller property, I'll be all in for about 16 to 17,000. On my larger property, I'm going to be closer to about 25, 30. Hopefully closer to 25. Jesus. Sorry, but I'm getting these interruptions here. But I expect it to be between like 25 and 30. If I can do it all over again, I probably would only buy one. I don't know why I bought two. I'm kind of impulsive in that way. It was cheap enough, but I think the 5,000 euro one would have done me just fine, except I wouldn't be able to do adult things with my daughter around if I just had a one-bedroom house. So it makes more sense, I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to regret the decision, but I now have two properties in Italy, and I guess that's kind of cool. All right, so next question is, oh man. Next question is Renaissance Parade, kindly. Okay, next question is by Crypto Hero. When you first started with real estate, how much capital did you have? So my first, very, very, very first real estate transaction I got in on, I only put up $5,000 to be the binder on the deal. And my buddies ended up closing on that property. I was just the money for the contract. And at that point, I ended up just having exposure to that transaction, and they closed on it with like 106% financing because that's how it was in 2006. Looking at my next deal that I did, that was 3.5% down. It was about almost a $400,000 transaction. So that was, let's call it $12,000 for the down payment, and having about another $15,000 available for closing costs and miscellaneous fees. So $27,000 to $30,000 for that house. That house is now valued around 550 in Stony Brook, New York. But I would say when you're looking at getting your first piece of real estate in the United States, look to have about 10% total for the deal. You're going to want to have your down payment requirements for your first time purchase, which is going to be 3.5 to 5% if you're doing FHA or conventional loans or mortgages. And you're going to want to have about another 5 to 6% in closing fees and the incidentals. You paying your attorney, paying closing costs. You could roll in closing costs into your purchase, but now with coronavirus, the banks are having more of a cash reserve requirement. Sometimes they're asking for as much as 6 months of mortgage payments in cash reserves. So you have to kind of be prepared for that. So I would recommend having 10%. Next question from Kalia Roan. Do you have to have a bachelor's degree to open a home care agency? I would say the answer is no, but that depends on your state. Your state is going to set the guidelines for operators and owners. To be the owner of the home care agency, you might not really need anything besides a clear criminal record, especially with no sort of Medicaid or Medicare fraud. But there might not be an education requirement for that. However, when you're applying to be the administrator, they're going to want you to have a certain amount of experience in home healthcare operations and or education that warrants that you're qualified to do so. So maybe a master's level in healthcare administration might be what they're looking for. I only have my bachelor's degree, but I have 24 years of experience in healthcare staffing and operations of a home healthcare company. So I definitely qualify to function as an administrator. Good evening. I'm ready to get started on my 203K loan. I am seeking a 2 to 4 unit property in Florida. What is the first step? Should I go directly to a HUD lender, agent, etc.? What would you suggest? If you're looking to do a 203K, I would specifically try to find a lender that is familiar with the 203K loan program and does a lot of them. They're going to be able to introduce you to contractors that are familiar with the program. They're going to be able to introduce you to consultants. They're going to understand the programs, the ins and outs, terms, etc. A lot of lenders don't mess with the FHA 203K loan programs. So I would say the first thing would be finding somebody who's competent with originating that sort of mortgage. You're welcome. Social reaction. Merciana's, her response. Okay, thank you for answering my question. I love the art and the fashion. There's just something about that time period I've always been interested in. I even liked how they lived in the, I guess you could say, kind of dark candlelit home. Yeah, but look at the Baroque period paintings, and you get a good sense of what that time period might have looked like. And that was, of course, showing the lifestyle of the affluent, not the poor people. But if you go to Italy, go to Musamelli, that city was founded in the Middle Ages and that Renaissance period. So if you really want to time travel, see castles, see how they built streets, how they built buildings, and how a house was literally 400 square feet, and that was okay probably to be a home for a family of 5. It's completely interesting. Michelle Dumas, what are your thoughts on Jesus Christ? The phone doesn't stop. I really hate having. This is the downside to doing this on my cell phone, but tomorrow I'll start doing it in my office. Just need to set up. What are your thoughts about going after commercial real estate properties in this current COVID times? Look, man, COVID, you got to keep living your life. That's it. That's the only thing you can do. When you're investing, if you're consistently investing, there's going to be good times, there's going to be bad times. Your responsibility as an investor is to always buy the best piece of property at the best value that you can. You're never going to be able to fully time markets and changes. I knew that the market was going to pull in this year, but I expected it to be more or less natural or reactionary to maybe interest rates increasing or trying to cut down on our debt somehow. I wasn't expecting COVID, but because I consistently bought really good deals at good prices, I've been able to kind of deal with this. And I think that's more important than anything. If you sit there and try to time the market, you're gonna end up never doing anything. Find the best deal that you can find right now, good price, good interest rates. There's some equity in the deal. When it's rent, it'll cash flow. That's the recipe. And for those of you, since you're asking a real estate question, I got to get on my salesmanship here. I have a program called Killing the American Dream on entplife.com. Thursday of this week, I'm going to be doing a 1 hour live seminar teaching you how to invest in 1 to 4 family real estate. Those of you who have these real estate questions, make sure you tune in. It's free. I go over the program, explain the cost structure of the program, and the benefits of doing my Invest and Learn, where you invest alongside me. Definitely check that out. You can even pre-register now at entplife.com. Put your email in there so at least you get reminders of the event. Hop on, and then we can talk about real estate in detail there. You're welcome, you're welcome. Do you plan to Airbnb the 3 units in your recent purchase? Yep. I actually plan on occupying one of the units and Airbnb the others. And since I plan on living between the US and Colombia and the US and other countries, when I'm here in Fort Lauderdale, I will stay in that property. When I'm not here, then I'll have all 3 units on Airbnb. I originally was thinking about demoing it out. I was supposed to be able to build 3 units, but they changed the code in the area, and I got kind of caught in the middle of that. So I was going to build 3 townhouses, and if I had built the 3 townhouses, I would have made anywhere between $600,000 and $1 million profit. But I learned that I could only do 2 because they had changed the variances that I'm allowed to put in for, and at 2, it just didn't make any sense. Between the construction budget and the time, it would have been like almost 2 years to only have a $300,000 spread, and I can make $300,000 a whole lot faster than in 2 years. So and without taking on $2 million of debt. So it just didn't make any sense. The Airbnb made more sense to me. I'll do that for like 10 years or so, and then I'll reevaluate that purchase at that time. The house already is 3,000 square feet in a nice neighborhood. So I see in 10 years' time that I can once again remodel it, maybe condense it down to 1 family, and I'll probably get out for $2 million if all things go well. Can you share some renovation experience and cost detail in Italy? I will. Social reaction. So I'm spending, actually tomorrow I'm sending like 12,000 or 13,000 euros to my contractor to start, which is about 70% of the cost. But what I'm gonna do, unfortunately, it's not gonna be me filming, but I'm gonna have somebody kind of capture the renovations process, showing, I have the befores, because that's how I recorded it when I went there, but I'm gonna show the afters. And the afters are going to kind of be what the contractor does. And then I have some of the work that I want to do myself, such as decorating the space, doing some fine tuning. I might have to pay the contractors to do that too, but they're going to really be under my guidance for that, because I really don't know when I'm going to be back in Italy. So if I get back for a few weeks, I can do the final work, the final detailing, And I can also hire those contractors to work alongside me because in 2 weeks' time, I'm not gonna, I can only do so much as an individual. But I'm gonna document it. It's gonna be cool to see the before and afters. I love that portion of things, so I'm definitely gonna be sharing that. Michelle, the link is in the description and in the description of all my videos. So you'll see the Killing the American Dream when this publishes. It should be in the description below. Please give me details. Yes, of course I realize. Yeah, when you're doing GB, when you're doing a triplex as a FHA, occupy one unit for you to get to 3.5%. If not, if it's an investment property, you have to be in for 20 to 30%. Okay, Hasib, again, man, you're here at the very, very end with your question. I'm gonna answer the question today because I was getting ready to log off. I told you to jump on this one early. All right, so bootstrapping into home care agency, making it profitable before asking for funds from friends and family. Have you ever tried making an assisted living facility at one of your properties? Okay, bootstrapping in home health care is doable. The only issue is that your rate of growth and the effort between the time that you start and you start making money bootstrapping is going to be frustrating. That's why I advocate for raising money in the beginning so you can organize your team so you have a really well qualified team that can handle the growth and you can start making money a lot faster than bootstrapping and kind of penny pinching until you're 3-4 years in before you start making profits. So I don't recommend bootstrapping. If that's your only choice, then that's your only choice. Now, when you start looking at raising money from friends and family, a lot of friends and family will invest off of who you are, right? They're gonna understand the business, whether it's real estate or healthcare. If they view you as competent, knowledgeable about money, being able to deliver on your ideas, they're gonna invest in what you're doing. You don't really need to have many proofs for that. There's enough evidence that home care agencies can make money out there. So they're going to invest because of their relationship with you, not because of your early traction, right? They don't even understand early traction and that sort of thing. They either want to support you and get involved and potentially make money or not. So I would say start talking to friends and family even before you get started and just gauge. Call everybody who you have in your phone book that's a friend or everybody in your WhatsApp that you have conversations with and say, hey man, I'm thinking about starting this home care agency. You ever heard of this dude named Carl Pierre? Look at his home care agency and what it's done, blah, blah, blah. And you can gauge their level of interest in networking with you or joining you or investing with you. Because the thing is, when you're raising money from friends and family, what happens is you'll talk to one friend or family member and say, hey, I'm opening up a home care agency. And that person may be interested or may not be interested. But most likely they're going to turn around and tell your story to somebody else that they know. Like, I have a cousin, an uncle, a blah, 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 opening a home care agency. And somebody may say, oh, I've been interested in working in home care, or I want to start one too. Next thing you know, you might be connected up with somebody, a potential partner or potential referral source, or someone who is connected in discharge planning or something. So it's important for you to go out there and message to as many people what you're doing. Eventually, there's going to be people who want to give you money. There's going to be people who want to give you advice. There's going to be people who hate on you. All of the above is going to happen. But if you don't talk to people about what you're doing, then you can guarantee none of those things are going to happen. The idea is going to live and die in your heart and mind. So with friends and family, don't worry about the traction. Make sure you're knowledgeable. Make sure you know what the hell you're talking about because they're going to have questions. You're going to want to be able to show them examples. You're going to want to be able to go over some sort of financial framework for what you plan on doing, how much money you think you're going to need, why you think you're going to need that much. Investors, true investors, VCs, angel investors, private equity funds or private equity firms, uh, they're going to be more picky about you demonstrating early traction with good reason. They don't want to just pour money into you, you spend it haphazardly, and you get nowhere because you just didn't know what you were doing. They're going to want you to be proven in the industry or be able to present validation of what you've done. All right. So I would say if you're thinking about going after friends and family, short answer, study what the requirements are going to be in your state, understand who the payers are, the potential for growth, the timeline to get started, the money requirements to get started, and to manage yourself until you get, I don't know, to 50 patients or more. Um, and that should be what you're talking about. Yep. So, I'm glad you're listening. I would say start there and, circle back in another live and update me with what's happening with you so I can kind of see where you're at. Every state's going to be different. Michigan, I keep saying this because it's surprising to me, but the state of Michigan has no license for both personal care and Medicare agencies, which is outrageous in my opinion. There's no oversight, there's no license. You go out there, you start, you need policies and procedures just to make sure that you have some sort of order in place, and you just start your home care business. But New York, California, you know, the blue states, as always, are more bureaucracy than ever. So expect bureau if you're in any of those states, expect that. Oak Mill, I have no idea. His question is, do I need a license to open a medical staffing agency in Maryland? I have a business tag and title services, and I want to add it to my business. First of all, I wouldn't add it to your business. Set up a new company, keep it separate. Why would you want to cross your financials? Don't do that. Um, Create a new entity that's dedicated to the medical staffing side. Check with your Department of Health to figure out if a medical staffing firm requires licensing. In New York, it does not. In Florida, it does. I only know the markets that I'm in. Michigan, the only reason I know about that is because my consultants told me, and like I said, that's a fact that stuck with me. I don't know all of the state's regulations. Each state is governed independently. Their Department of Health are managed on a state level. So you have to check with your state to see what they're about. In most states, having a staffing firm is not a licensed ordeal. So if I had to guess with a level of accuracy, I would say Maryland probably doesn't have a license for medical staffing. So I hope that answers your question, but definitely check out with your Department of Health and make sure that you're doing things the right way. And also do not cross those businesses. They're very different businesses. So don't do that. Hasib, let's see what you got here. And I'll see if I want to answer this because I don't want to stay here longer. Thank you for your advice. It was so detailed and so tailored. I also want to ask if I should get into real estate and go the assisted living. I don't know what you should do, man. I don't know what your skill sets are. I don't know what your experience is. I don't know how much money you have. I don't know how passionate you are about this industry. I don't know. It might be the right thing, it might be the wrong thing, and what does my opinion really matter? Ultimately, you have to do what makes the most sense for you. That honestly, people I know that sometimes when we're these talking heads and we're experienced or experts in a certain area, you think our word means something. Our word doesn't mean anything besides maybe turning you on or turning you off to a certain idea. You have to look into yourself and say, do I really want to be in assisted living? Why? If it's for the money grab, there's easier ways to make money because assisted living is going to be highly regulated and also a lot of liability. You have to worry about people eloping from your property, someone's Alzheimer's progressing if you're going to do Alzheimer's care. plenty of oversight from the state, constantly being sued. This healthcare game is not an easy money grab. I tell people all the time, it's not about just grabbing money. There has to be a part of you that really believes that you're making a difference in the lives of chronically ill people, people who are aging, people who are sick. If you cannot, sympathize with that, and you're doing the wrong thing. There's money here, there's money to be made, but if this is just a money play, don't do it. I'm not saying that's what your situation is, but you're going between assisted living and home care, and you're asking for advice as to what business you start. Start with what's dearest to you, what you'll potentially enjoy, because chances are early on it's going to be expensive, it's going to be difficult, and you're not going to be making money. So you better be really passionate about what you're doing so that you could get through that hump of I'm burning $30,000-$40,000 a month to get started. That's just the honest truth. So that's pretty much it. Let me get out of here before I get hit with another question. I hope you guys enjoyed this installment of the Dirty Work. Hope you're finding it useful. If you are, please use the comment section below. I see that this video only has 4 likes. 4 likes. Please like this. Add some more likes to the like count, please. If you're not already a subscriber, definitely subscribe. Share this with somebody that you know can benefit from it. I like this engagement, but in reality, I still need to do other things. I could potentially do this for hours, but make sure that you guys tune in whenever I do these lives, because it allows you to get this direct Q&A that I usually charge money for on a consultancy basis, and I'm not even consulting right now because I'm kind of pressed for time. So I would say, tune in from time to time. I'm going to start getting more targeted. Once I do this 30 days, I'll kind of know what people are interested in, and then I'll start doing like 1 day a week lives where we go in for about an hour or so on one topic. That topic may be home care, it may be staffing, it may be Italian real estate, it may be real estate in general, it may be Airbnb. That's what I see people are asking about. So I'll probably rotate through those concepts or those ideas. And you'll be able to ask questions and get almost like direct consultancy or be, I guess, mentored in a way. And at the same time, everybody else who's thinking now has a point of reference to get their questions answered. And I also have this video so that when somebody asks me, I can say, well, in episode 45 of the Dirty Work, we talked about Airbnbs. Forward, talk to me, later. So I'm not repeating the same thing over. Imagine saying these things to thousands of people as they ask you. It gets very repetitive and it gets very boring. So I actually started doing this YouTube channel because I was getting asked how do you invest in real estate by my friends. And then I would just say, you know what, let me do some videos here and I'll push them to them. Whenever they ask me, I'm like, you know what, here's a video that'll explain it to you in 45 minutes. I don't have 45 minutes now, I'm going to be drinking, that sort of thing. So that's it. Have a good night. Enjoy.